the history repeats itself, and there's always been a correlation with music, drugs, and teenage listeners. So I don't see it changing unless the teenager is smart enough to be like, no, I don't need drugs. All I need is the music, and that's the feeling.
It's fascinating that you mentioned this. To even tell a student, right, or excuse me, especially an artist, right, to go to school is even another taboo, another thing that rarely ever happens for musicians to go to actually finish school. And that's really cool that you finally go through that process. How long did that take you? It took a while, or were you?
A while.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it this way. As far as my soul goes, it's evolving. Some people's souls are regressing. It's like some people progress as they get older. Some people regress. And unfortunately, people like my drummer and my best friends from my childhood have regressed. So that's a really hard thing for me. That's the hardest thing about this whole transition into fame, you know. But fame in itself is an art, you know, Lady Gaga, art pop, stuff like that. So all these people that do this, they've all been alone. They all have drugs chasing them, but they have the music. And that's what changes everything. That's why we're on Jimmy Fallon and stuff like that. You know, Kanye West will never be on Jimmy Fallon again. Marilyn Manson will never be. The Game will never be. But, you know, it's just like Snoop Dogg, all these personalities. And that's actually what Tom Pinenzio told me why they stopped for like 10 years putting musicians on TV shows was because there's no personalities in the music, behind the music. So it's like what we're seeing now is a whole 90s resurgence of MTV. I signed Abandoned Pools to MTV, and just Nick Horcourt, shout out to him. So all these people just are making this happen. And Tommy Walter of Abandoned Pools, who is Abandoned Pools, is scoring Clone High, a canceled show from a long time ago. And I learned more from Tommy Walter and Tom Pinenzio. Those are the two people I learned about the music business from.
So you also mentioned to me that you got during school and after school, right? You started your own kind of working with artists and trying to manage them?
Yep. Manage, PR, record label, like one-stop shop shit.
What year did that start?
Started right when I graduated college, so 2009.
So tell me about that. Like, what was the experience of working with artists and trying to figure out how to get them more exposure? And when is this still in New York, or you now transitioned out to
LA?
Okay.
Hollywood. I was living with my best friend Aaron for the summers. So I was staying in New York on the East Coast for the school year, and then I was in San Diego and traveling up to Hollywood then. Now this also created complete exhaustion. You know, I remember going to see Press Play. That was a band that I really wanted to sign to Universal because they were touring with Miley Cyrus.
Oh, wow.
Who, again, I think Miley Cyrus is the best of our time with what she does. So, you know, there was one night when I was at the Press Play concert at the Roxy, and I just collapsed. And my head split open, and there was blood everywhere. And my best friend's brother, Jody Bagley, took me in the car and brought me home, and I looked at myself and I'm like, oh, this is bad. And everyone else said it was bad, and I survived, obviously. But I've met death so many times in my life. It is something that I'm absolutely not afraid of. Once you experience death or near death, it becomes something that you're just not afraid of. And when something comes to you that looks like death, you may have that instant fear, but then you know how to handle it. You know, for example, with my alcoholic drummer, my brother called me and told me he wasn't in rehab. I went to his house. I thought it would just be a very cordial talk. and his neighbor came after me with a sword and almost chopped my head off. So all this fucking happens, and my friends from childhood are still against me and taking sides with my alcoholic drummer, who I actually came out here during the pandemic for him because I saw he was hurting so much.
Yeah.
And that's how the story ends, and I'm glad it's ended because he needs help. And I don't know if he'll get it or not. I mean, I'm talking to all my fans, all my record label personnel, and you, and
Sarah,
your beautiful wife, and it's just like they still are in denial.
I mean, you're. I mean, this is kind of when everyone around you, right, is consuming as well, right? It's pretty hard to. It's like saying, like, for example, right? We're in America right now, one of the biggest things that's pretty normal is sugar, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has sugar and everything, right? You know.
Yeah.
And obviously that makes
it's
you
cheap
gain.
cocaine.
That's you ain't never lied. So that's no. It puts it's something that really screws your body up, right? And obviously sugar turns into fat, you know, the glucose and fat, right? So you're essentially more and more fat. The bigger now we kind of like we promote it. Say, hey, right, fat everybody. Everyone's fat. Now that's a good thing, right? And obviously medically it's horrible for you,
obviously.
Right? But since more and more people are getting it, so it's almost becoming more and more of a kind of a fad. So do you feel like when you were starting to do your kind of music record, like you're trying to work with new artists, right? That was some of the biggest hurdles of trying to work with artists and like get them to come on, just go to your full potential, or was it more of just like it's just the industry, you just have to adapt?
You have to adapt. If you're gonna, you can adapt and fight at the same time. That's what I admire so much about Perry Farrell. You'll notice on his Instagram, he's ready to fight. But at the same time, he also basically runs the industry without being a record executive. He should be a record executive. You know, so, and as far as the sugar thing, that's interesting you say that, because throughout my life, I've kind of fluctuated in weight. Now I don't anymore. I've just adapted, and this is my weight. You know, I'm a size 28 waist, you know. My wife is my same size, you know. So it's just like, the way it is it's just, we adapted to that as well.
So then, can you tell me about some of the life and story of you being a kind of running and let me get this right? Running a record label or managing? Like how
I oversaw everything. I had a business partner called Rich Michalowski, and it was interesting. He always said to me, he's like, I don't have what it takes to make it in the music industry.
Right.
But he stayed in the music industry. Another drug addict.
Man.
Started calling my family and causing all this stuff. Just like my ex-girlfriend found the number of my girlfriend's number in Utah. In Brazil, they made a trip up because her grandmother just died, so it all kind of timed out and ripped our relationship apart. She's on the song Want You, and it's, I think, one of my best songs, you know. So what I've had throughout my life is people ripping things away, and I haven't tried to fight it until I came out here. I said, all right, you stupid motherfucker, Daniel Kramer, you are going to sober the fuck up. I didn't say that. I never told him go to rehab or anything like that. Like, he came over to my house, tried to start a intervention with Spencer, our new guitarist, and they basically just said, we can't go on like this. So what I did then, Aaron got on the phone. There are two people that I will, when they call me and whatever they say, I'll do. Aaron Bagley and my mother. So those are the two figures in my life. Everyone else is just like, fuck you, I'm going, you know. So I agreed to go to the hospital, get checked. They said nothing's with me. They let me make phone calls. I found a new drummer. So it was like basically chilling in my office in the hospital. So then Kramer came in and completely confused by the situation, wanted to talk to the doctor, but I already had been discharged. Then the next day, I got no sleep, went to his house at 9 a.m. He was sleeping. He told me to get the fuck away from his house after he had been to my house the night before. And then he calls his dad. I have a great conversation with his dad. Then I call the police because Kramer's just not doing fucking anything. And the police lie to me and say, yeah, we got him going to rehab. So then I drive up. I say, just get in the car. And he says, no. Then I scream, get in the fucking car in front of his alcoholic enabler, Cliff. And that's the person that chased me with the sword.
Whoa.
So you can kind of see how everything came full circle. He didn't go to rehab, and I'm sitting here with you. I think I'm in a much better position than him. And Aaron Bagley and his whole family and Kristen Bagley. All those people are in a bad place. I don't want them to be in a bad place. But they should be in a bad place because of their actions. Just like how they say it's concerning that I am still doing what I'm doing because of my actions.